we've been working in the last couple years now on really bringing in a multi-touch view to our customer and engagements. We moved off a last touch model, and you traditionally think of the last touch model as what's the last thing a customer did before that opportunity was created. But in a B2B environment, over 6, 9, 12 months, there's more than the last thing that they did that created that opportunity. So we spent a considerable amount of time really trying to gain access to the information off our website touches. So using Google Analytics to capture the website touches and tying that back also with the Salesforce campaign touches. So combining the live event activity, the live campaigns with the digital touches from, what product pages were they reading? What kind of topics are they consuming? And combining that really into a superset of data, and then kind of bringing in the next magic of associating the time that touch occurred back to an account, back to an opportunity, and trying to identify what was taking place in that pre-opportunity phase, kind of that 6 months prior to the opportunity being created, and then what types of activities were taking place between opportunity creation and opportunity close. And what we were able to observe, and I think you can obviously use this from a sales and marketing perspective, is what types of engagements or what level of engagement drives opportunity creation. When do I think I really have buyer intent or buyer interest in engaging with our content? And I think what's also valuable about that is you can start to kind of assess, kind of the contribution that marketing is bringing to the sales activity. So you could see in low engagement opportunities, the win ratio and the deal size were very typical to no engagement at all. And then when you reach kind of a level of moderate engagement, you could see our win conversion rise, the deal size rise. And as you move to that kind of higher level of engagement, you could see, again, oftentimes twice as much the deal size, much higher win rate. And so I think sales and marketing can use that to understand, well, how engaged is my customer in our content? Kind of the whole idea that, everyone is looking to buy, or not everyone's at the same place in their journey in that buying cycle. So you can look at that engagement of, are they reading white papers? Are they attending our events? Are they consuming content on our website? And understand, well, how interested is this buyer? And if there's a low level of interest, maybe not the time. Now is not the time to really kind of push on that sales motion, but rather try to get them to the next event or try to kind of get some content in front of them that kind of meets their business need. But those who do have a high level of engagement, maybe it's worth reaching out to them in either actual phone call or inviting them to something more personal, so that you can kind of progress the sales motion along. So we've been able to use that multi-touch information not only to give us a sense of where our customers in their buyer's journey, but also give sales and marketing a sense of how ready is that customer to move forward with the opportunity. So what we've really looked at a lot is that level of engagement pre-opportunity. So prior to that opportunity being created, and what I would affectionately call the research phase. So and as we move more to a digital environment and we move to a space where the customer can do more of their research on their own, how much research are they doing with your company? And what we've been able to assess from that pre-opportunity creation, which we kind of look to be that 6-month window prior to opportunity create, is how much content are they consuming? And not necessarily what type of content, but just simply the volume of content are they consuming? And because there's no way you can get someone to a high level of engagement just with inviting them to events or just having them read white papers. There's obviously a level of where someone's going to say, no, I've had enough, but they are going to go do research on their own. And so when they're coming to your website and looking through your blog posts, your customer success stories, just general product detail, those in our estimation count as touches just as much as downloading a white paper, attending a webinar or going to an event is a touch. And if a large enough buying group starts to do that, you start to then move into that higher level of engagement. And what we were able to show statistically was when we had low engagement, we saw, typical results of no engagement at all. And then we kind of had a moderate level, we could start to see that rise in conversion rate and that rise in deal size. And when we had high engagement, we saw even higher conversion and higher deal size. And we were able to then do some causal analysis and say, you know what, it's not about the size of the company. It's not about, how much revenue the company has or who the customer is. It's a behavioral pattern that indicates that engagement and is driving that higher sale. And so because we were able to make that statistical association, we were then able to go back and say, well, if statistically we see this result in the higher engagement than the moderate than the low, we can assign a percentage to that. We can say when marketing is there at a high level, we'll give you, X percent. When marketing is there at a moderate level, we'll give you Y. And if there's low engagement, it's 0. And so, we'll move that off. And so we were able to kind of quantify those values for our existing customer engagements to say, you know what, we are bringing value and we can quantify that value. And then once we quantified that value at a macro level, the contribution, we were then able to take that contribution for the deal and assign individual value back to the individual touches. And so actually attribute value to how much was that white paper worth? How much was that live event worth? And start to then kind of tally up the total contribution for the deal down to the individual pieces of each deal. So I think the other interesting thing we've been able to do most recently is take a look at customer lifetime value. And this is kind of another tack that we've been able to do in the marketing data science side is look at the lifetime of our customer. And we run a recurring revenue model, I'm sure like many models out there today. And we can monitor that customer's lifetime from the time they become a new customer to the time they exit with us, and know each month what was their revenue for us, what was their, how long did they stay with us. And we opted for more kind of looking at things from a survival analysis perspective of kind of, how long does that customer live and stay, and how do they grow over time. And we chose more, because we had a recurring revenue model, we chose to look at kind of those revenue each month. And what we were able to discern from that is we could look at another predictor we had of kind of the wallet size that the customer has, and kind of segment out, the very large spending customer from the moderate to the middle to the low, and monitor and look at what were the survival rates of those customers over time. How much revenue did they give us during that lifetime? And really start to create bands and, kind of some extent segments of what does that low band look like from a lifetime with us and a lifetime value all the way up to those large customers. And you can start to really see very distinct kind of groups within your customer groups of customers of this wallet size, have a shorter lifespan and a shorter value to us. So as we think about customer acquisition, as we think about, customer support, how might we treat these smaller companies in regards to how we want to bring them on? And I think where you can start to have kind of business conversations on is do we want our high touch sales engagement with these low cost customers? Or do we want to look at more of a low touch channel platform or e-commerce platform that can bring those customers on? So while they may not stay as long and they may not spend as much, our cost of acquisition, our cost of support is lower. In contrast, those higher value customers, you do maybe want a higher touch model in our case, and think about how do I go and upsell them and cross-sell them and keep them here longer. So I think really understanding your customer lifetime value, understanding kind of how that segments out by the customer's potential, allows you to make business decisions of, what's the best way to cover each one of those markets to maximize your profitability at each one of those segment levels. So another area of data science within marketing and sales is understanding that intent to buy or that readiness to buy. So the looking like a good customer, as like the example I often use, we all look like car buyers. We have a certain amount of income, we have a certain amount of education, we have a certain amount of time, as adults, and so we look like a car buyer. But that doesn't mean I'm ready to buy a car right now. And so what you have to kind of do from the predictive side is you have to be able to identify who looks like a good customer of yours. So people will often talk about that ideal customer profile. So again, much like that car buyer, you fit our profile of being a good car buyer. But now I got to understand, are you shopping for a car? And so, and there's obviously the need to nurture and kind of send out content to folks, but you got to monitor, are they starting to look, show those intent signs? So are they showing up on your website and consuming that content? Is that content being consumed, certainly at a business to business level, by more than one person at that company? Is that amount of content that's being consumed happening in tight groups? And so you have a lot of that first party data with your multi-touch data of who's coming to your website, who's attending your campaign events, and you can take that first party content to understand the beginnings of interest in you. And then you can also leverage things like Bombora or some other kind of intent services where you kind of get third party intent around say different keywords or different kind of ideas that not only are they looking at you, they're looking at someone else. So kind back to that car buyer example of, your Ford, you see them on your Ford website, but it also turns out they're at Chevy, they're at Toyota. So you start to get a sense of this person's actually really in the market. They're actually really starting to look, because I see third party intent, I see first party engagement. And if you marry those two things together with your profile of who's a good fit for you, you can decide again, okay, well, is that now a field rep I want to assign to that? Is that an inside rep? Is that, a partner? Because I now know I have a customer who's a good fit for us, and they're also showing the right signs of engagement on our first party data, and they're showing the signs of intent through our third party data. So that's the big piece that we talk about a lot in the data science team is, we do a lot of great data discovery. We do a lot of great modeling, but it doesn't really matter if we as data scientists can get the insight. We need to be able to move that data outside our group into the broader audience. And what's really worked for us at Akamai is my team in the data science side has been in that manufacturing the raw data. So we spend a lot of time in building out those data sets, finding the insights, and usually building them back into some kind of data warehouse table that we can put back into our enterprise data warehouse. And then I partner very closely with our dashboarding and report team, and they take our insights from the warehouse, they put them into the Tableau server, and then they're able to then visualize that data back out to the broader audience. And so I think about our multi-touch data. We built this, very large data set within multi-touch that captures the digital touches, the campaign touches, the association with the opportunities, and we placed that into our warehouse. Our dashboard team was able to take that and put that into an opportunity influence dashboard that visualized that life cycle for every opportunity. So an individual could go back and see what happened at this customer over the 6, 9, 12 months of its buyer's journey, and see the level of engagement and what type of engagement happened pre-opportunity, what took place during the opportunity life cycle, and whether we won or lost that deal. And with that contribution number, start to understand, well, how much contribution of that deal went towards marketing value, and then how do we assign the attribution out to each one of those steps along the way. So you're able to take your raw data set and place it into, again, in our case, the warehouse, move that over to Tableau, and then our data visualization team was able to visualize that. And I think having those two separate groups has enabled us to be more effective, that I can have data scientists focus on the work of data science and model and dig deep into the analytics. And then I can have another specialist group on the data visualization side and how do they make that rich and engaging for the consumer level. And then we can partner and understand, well, what data do you need? How do you want me to present that data in the warehouse? What transformations are you doing in the visualization layer that we can move back to the data layer and improve your quality? So it really is a great kind of ecosystem for us, that the data science team kind of does the raw manufacturing, and the visualization teams brings good things to life and makes those visual and enticing and engaging for the business community.